Today, I'm chatting with Matt Harvey, who's the Chief Corporate Engagement Officer at Stanford Online. So, Matt and we actually got to chat and meet at the SHRM conference in San Diego a few months back at the wonderful event hosted by LHH. A shout out to Bethany and her team for putting that on. But, Matt, I'm curious, coming from the higher education space, what drew you out to the SHRM conference this year?
Well, Joel, it's great to be here. In fact, I got the same question actually from a lot of my colleagues since I don't traditionally work in HR. But one of the things that I've realized, my work really involves working with organizations to bring learning and development and Stanford learning opportunities to companies and their employees. And one of the things I had found was, honestly, HR, learning and development, talent development people are in a really weird space right now in terms of the demands that are being placed upon them by the organizations to sort of almost rethink what their role is. And what I was finding was when we would talk to companies and meet L&D folks or talent folks trying to address specific learning challenges or create programs, you could feel the pressure that they're under to try to solve these things in a way that's actually going to show return on investment. Almost like people are trying to justify the existence of the field in some strange way, which I couldn't imagine a time where it's more important.
Yeah, it was a great show to go out to in that sense this year. Most topics were centered around AI and how it's impacting the workplace and employees. So I can see how that would be valuable. So kind of along that point, AI technology, the business use cases, how employees are adopting and engaging and using it, and how that measures to productivity gains are evolving so fast right now. Companies are literally figuring this out on the fly. And then I think once they feel like they might have some traction somewhere, the next wave of AI innovation is launched. How are university systems grappling with the pace of innovation and how to equip and prepare students for this future workforce, knowing that things are changing so rapidly?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question and a crazy huge challenge. Back to the conference for a second, it was oh wow, we're in a session where we're not going to say AI. We made it a whole hour where AI didn't come up. This is incredible, right? But it was just, everywhere in the air. I think there's just sort of an arms race going on, right? And is it a gold rush mentality? Is it an arms race? Is it you're not allowed to come into a room if you don't say AI? Stanford is obviously in Silicon Valley, sort of at the southern part of the San Francisco Bay. Between the San Francisco airport and our university is this stretch of 101 freeway. 95% of the billboards reference AI. It's just, you're not allowed to kind of be in public if you can't bring that up somehow. And what happens is there's really not beautifully shared definitions for all of this inside an organization, let alone in the field itself, right? The research field, the ideas of even something like machine learning versus deep learning versus AI. People know they need this thing or want to need this thing, but what is that thing? And then how can you bring it to people in a way that's in the flow of work, in the moment of need to actually do something constructive? I don't know if you had seen, there was recent work, I think, out of MIT and the NADA project around 95% of AI pilots fail.
Yeah.
What does fail mean, right? We're a learning organization, so we believe that you can learn through failure or non-success. But what does that mean for a company that's burning money, right? What does it mean for an employee who feels pressure right now to stay personally competitive in their team, in their organization, right? We know there's a lot of fear that's sitting underneath that. And I think one of the powers of education is feeling maybe not going to be a master and expert, a Nobel winner in this whole area, but maybe you feel a little bit better tomorrow than you did today about understanding how to apply these tools. And one of the things that I think jumped out at me at the conference as well was you walk across the exhibit floor. We think of it as Frank's Red Hot, sauce. You just dab a little AI on top of everything and it'll go great. At a tactical level to get things done in an organization or in your team, there's, how to do prompt engineering or how to use prompt engineering for, recruiting tasks or something like that. But actually, the companies that invest in deeper knowledge of these spaces, whether it's neural networks, whether it's language processing, whether it's computer vision, you need people who have a depth of knowledge in the organization about these areas of study, because the superficial things, you will just get locked into systems that you will be dependent upon as a company forever. You buy into these third-party people that you bring in that'll solve all these problems, and the systems, and you end up getting married to them in a way you can't kind of get out of, right? And so I think there's a real opportunity for companies to figure out maybe we need to have some custom programs for executives to create a common language about what the heck do we even mean when we talk about these different things for our company's context. How do you take care of high potential employees to want to make them stay? I mean, I don't know that we can all offer people $1 billion bonuses to come join their companies, as some folks are kind of pursuing right now as a strategy. And then you have to respect, it's okay that not everyone has a deep depth in each of these spaces, but to have not enough of your organization with that depth is going to put you at a disadvantage competitively in the next, 2, 3, 5 years. Maybe in the next 6 months, you did a really smart thing by getting everyone to be on the same GPT program, and they're all using it inside, hopefully not putting too much proprietary data on it. But that's only going to be a salve for this moment over the next couple of months to play at something. It's not giving you the competitive advantage at depth, at deep knowledge.
Yeah, I think you hit on something that a lot of companies are looking at and trying to augment with their workforce is bringing in some of the AI deep knowledge and expertise to go along with the institutional knowledge they have with their current employee base, and being able to integrate those two functions internally and figure out how to be more strategic with their AI initiatives, but also do it in a way that is not just implementing AI for AI's sake, but actually doing it with a goal in mind. Like, how is this going to have us create a better customer experience or whatever it is? But there's got to be a goal in mind and strategically working through those tasks to hit that goal. Like you mentioned earlier, there's so much pressure on this corporate arms race to be like, we've got to implement this, we've got to start launching AI all across the board. There's still the 4 big risks with AI that are still out there, which is why it helps having some people with deep AI knowledge and expertise on board. There's data accuracy, there's compliance, there's security, and there's governance. And if you don't have the right people and building the strategy around that to help mitigate those risks, or at least call out those risks, then we're going to see companies not just failing with AI projects, but failing and having some really big consequences on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is this idea of what model, and your points are well taken, because what mental model do you want to use for this moment in time? Is this the new industrial revolution? Well, I remember, if I'm studying my history correctly, lots in the Industrial Revolution, we had giant textile mill fires. There were massively terrible outcomes around all of this growth. We're going to have these moments in this space too, right? And so I think what's scary is the speed and velocity is what is a little more unique here. That change is going to happen in a much shorter period of time, or that volatility is going to happen in a much shorter period of time. And I think, especially in the HR space, this concept of IT is from Mars and HR is from Venus, right? These worlds are going to come together, and it's going to be what is it when more of your workforce is digital agents than it is people, right? Or I really enjoyed Chris Fernandez from Microsoft's talk there at the conference around have you begun to think about what your human to agent ratio is? And what does that even mean? I'll give you a great use case in our own team. Often clients want to know, which of these AI courses do I take so that this discrete group of employees can do this thing once they've taken that course? And we can give them some guidance around that, but they also want to be able to kind of figure that out for themselves in a way, right? And we were okay, let's use a tool. I won't name the product out there, but it's a tool that you can kind of vibe your way to a prototype that would come build this tool. Well, yeah. My team could do that, but I bet our marketing colleagues have feelings about what this thing is producing. I bet you our software teams have lots of questions. I'm sure our risk and compliance people have questions about this, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's what a great, cool experiment we could go do this afternoon, but all of our org chart doesn't really encourage us trying to do that, right? And so you have to figure out, what vibe does your organization have towards diving into these sorts of things? And can you set up, I would think of it as simple rules. Kathy Eisenhardt, who's a wonderful faculty member here at Stanford, her and Darnold Sull from MIT wrote this great book called Simple Rules. And it's really heuristics about how do you make decisions when you're in chaotic environments and you don't really know what the right choice is, and you absolutely do not have all the information you will need. But are there a couple of simple rules you can create to navigate in that time so you still feel like you're on top of it? It's a wonderful book, by the way, if you ever get a chance to take a look at it. But it's super helpful to give you clarity when you're in the fog and chaos, which I don't know a better way to describe kind of what people are experiencing here on AI.